Well, we have a dangerous situation setting up across parts of Kansas and Oklahoma today, a high risk of severe storms. So we don't get a high risk very often, but we've got a high risk here across central Oklahoma into south central Kansas, moderate risk surrounding that, and an enhanced risk from Nebraska down into just the northern tip of Texas. Really dangerous setup shaping up here today. We've got this strong upper level low coming out of the Rockies, bringing warm, moist air out ahead of it, cooler, drier air coming in at the surface as well behind this. We've got a dry line, cold front combo here. And remember, an upper level low is essentially just a cold front aloft. It really destabilizes the atmosphere. And this thing's going to kind of spin out over the Rockies and progress eastward and linger across the central U.S., creating several chances of rain this week. But when we look at those temperatures in the middle of the atmosphere, this is why this becomes such an issue. Everything's boiling up at the surface, literally with warmth and higher dew points. And then you bring in that colder air in the middle of the atmosphere, and that creates just rapid instability. So that's why we have that high risk there. Hatched area of significant tornado risk. So a high probability of some potentially significant long track tornadoes here today. The tornado parameters are kind of off the charts from across Oklahoma. Now it'll probably stay capped into Texas, but that Oklahoma into southern Kansas, this is just one snapshot in time. This will progress. We'll show you an animation in a second. But just to give you an idea of how high those parameters are, it's throwing out a 20, and this is some research looking at different case studies that give you the probability. You get over a 4 significant tornado parameter and you're dealing with 30-40% probability of seeing some tornadoes. And we've got a narrow area from, this is just one particular model, this is not actuality but a forecast, but this is updraft helicity tracks of 20 or 200 plus, excuse me. And again, you look at some case studies that analyze that, and this is really the high end kind of possibilities of updraft helicity track values. So all the parameters really sort of at the top end of the charts here. And we'll have plenty of juice, mostly because we're gonna get dew points into the 60s and 70s. Cape values will be very high, that energy potential for storms. And then again, we're gonna have this dry line coming out of the higher elevations here of New Mexico, western Texas. That will combine with all those upper level dynamics to really just produce this rapidly destabilizing situation. Jet stream winds will be blowing out of the west too, a strong jet. And all of that helps to create this crossover scenario, or the ability of storms to organize here. This is why we look at shear so closely. South winds in the lower levels of the atmosphere, but we're going to be seeing west winds, strong west winds in the middle and upper levels of the atmosphere, and that's what creates that shear, rotates storms and allows them to organize. So a lot of shear coming out of the mountains here into Oklahoma, Texas, and Kansas as we head into the late afternoon and evening hours to help organize those storms. So again, this is an animation of that significant tornado parameter, and you can see across Kansas and Oklahoma, it just really blows up here late this afternoon into the evening hours and then tames down. But then we're going to be looking at a wind event, a line of storms probably producing straight line winds. So you can see scattered high wind gusts across Oklahoma and Kansas, even into parts of Missouri and Arkansas into the overnight hours. So timing wise, we're going to be looking at late afternoon, that typical peak heating time, just as that cooler air aloft reaches in, discrete supercells popping up into Oklahoma and Kansas, and then again forming a line which will probably produce high wind gusts and very heavy rain and large hail into the rest of the evening and the overnight. So again, Oklahoma, Kansas, that's the area to watch later today. Really a particularly dangerous situation, high risk of severe storms and significant tornadoes. Follow us on social media and make sure you subscribe to our YouTube channel so you're alerted to the next chance of extreme weather in the U.S.